We have many things going on here in Champaign. One thing that you might not know about is Luke and his operation. We have a fully fledged film production company here in town that's made several feature-length movies. One was recently filmed here in town not too long ago. Luke, when was that, Leading Ladies?
A year ago.
A year? It was already a year? Wow, I remember the excitement and buzz in the community as filming was done at different locations here in Champaign. And very excited to invite Luke up to share some words with us.
John. How you doing? I'm Luke. I want to thank the organizers for inviting me here. When they said that it was about visualization, I kind of found myself at an impasse because I was thinking, okay, I know I use visualization, but it's kind of my job is visualization. So how do I kind of describe it without just describing what I do? And I thought, well, okay, maybe I should just describe what I do. So I thought I would talk about the process of what I do, what we do in the film production business, and just kind of explain that a little bit. Basically, film production is every aspect of my job, every single stage of it is visualization. That's what I do. And there's three main stages to film production, and I thought I would talk about within each stage how visualization is used. So the first stage is pre-production. And pre-production is basically the planning stage of a movie. In pre-production is probably the most obvious form of visualization, because that's kind of where we're just kind of actually trying to create something from nothing. So obviously the scripting is part of that, where we're developing scenes, trying to come up with shots, trying to create a story. Trying to create a narrative, and even we do both narrative and commercial films. So everything we do kind of translates over to the industrial video sector as well. So in that stage, we're creating a script. We try to, no matter what, even if it's for a product or a service, to come up with a narrative story to make it interesting, to kind of develop emotion. Creating arcs, character development, subtext, commentary, social commentary, all that is involved in creating a script, and we're always visualizing that. Literally, it's all in our head, trying to get it out, and that can sometimes take a very long time. Once the script's complete, as a director and producer, we have to visualize a budget to make sure that we can actually do it, and that seems kind of, it's not as creative, but it actually can be very creative, because in most cases, we end up finding out that we can't do a lot of what we would like to do. Obviously, we don't have Michael Bay's budget in Central Illinois to blow up lots of buildings and robots, but we still have to kind of come up with something to make it look good and make it work well. So we kind of develop a budget. And through experience, we kind of decide what is needed and what we can get rid of. We have to figure out how to pay a crew, how to pay for food, how to do this. Is this shot going to need a crane, or is it not going to need a crane? Are we going to be able to get enough dolly shots in a certain day, or are we going to have to only be able to get one or two, depending on different things? Once the budget is complete, and kind of during that, a first assistant director or first AD develops a schedule, and that is the first AD is the one job that I have to work with as a director, work closely to. That's the one job on a movie that I never ever want to do, because they have to basically create a schedule. They have to visualize the entire production every single day, every single hour, and know exactly what's happening and be able to get it within a budget. So every day has a budget, and that the first AD has to know exactly what time the sun sets on every single day of the shoot. How is the wind going to be if we're shooting outside? Are we going to be able to have enough time to shoot in day, or are we going to have specialty lights to fake day or to fake night or do everything? They have to visualize every single aspect of the actual physical photography. So once the schedule's done, and there's an art department, which is a little bit more obvious. The art department's visualizing how the movie's going to look from a prop perspective, costume perspective, different things like that. And then once we get all that done, we get to go into what's called principal photography, which is the second stage. And that's the one where the director and the cinematographer basically every day on set have to visualize every single shot. And a day on set is usually consistent of what's called setups. A setup is every time a camera is set up. And, excuse me. And that can average around 5 to 6 setups, all the way up to, if you're really, really good, 10 to 13 setups a day. But mostly in the normal film, it's about 5 to 6 setups. And so the director and the cinematographer, who's in charge of the camera and the lighting, have to visualize every single shot. What's, am I going to need to do, just get away with just a close-up here? Or am I going to have to do a close-up, a wide, a tight? And that may seem kind of simple to just go from say a wide, which is like a wide-angle view, into a close-up of someone's face. But each one of those is a setup and can take hours just to do, between lighting, between makeup, between preparing the actors, which is something else that the director has to visualize every day, is how to get certain performances from the actors. So that's most of the principal photography includes the visualization from that point of view, and also from lighting, which is very, very, very important with all this, and it's something that I think in the digital age is kind of not thought about as well. We can always get a hold of a camera, but we all don't necessarily know how to light that well, and it's one of those things you kind of have to learn become switched to yet. So the last stage of a production is the post-production stage, which obviously is one thing everybody knows is editing. Which at that point it's easy to think that, oh well, it's not as much visualization because the script's been written, the shots have been set, there's something to actually choose from. But what an editor does is he actually has to visualize pacing. And really, really, really good editing in some cases, is almost so seamless that it seems obvious, but it really isn't. And the pacing and the rhythm of a film, almost as in kind of a music ideology, is so vital to how a film is. I mean, it can make a film either good or bad, and it honestly relies on that. And the editor has to visualize that very carefully and figure out what works, and that can usually honestly take anywhere from 4 or 5 months up to a couple of years. So once that's done, it's given to a colorist, and the colorist has to visualize the look of the film. Does it need more warm tones? Does it need to have cool tones? What are we trying? A lot of times, a lot of subtext is actually driven a lot from the color of the film. Stuff we don't really realize. An obvious example would be something like Saving Private Ryan with lots of muted tones, and that kind of thing kind of gives you a certain feel of that era. So once the color is done, it's then given to a sound mixer who has to visualize how does the sound make the film seem real. And in all honesty, you can have the most beautiful film in the entire world, and if the sound is terrible, the movie's terrible. Most audiences will not deal with bad sound at all. It doesn't matter how amazing the film looks. So really at every stage of a production, that's basically it, and it's ready for distribution, but you can kind of tell how visualization is pretty much, you're at every stage of the film, you're trying to create something from nothing. Even if you have something, it's all kind of trying to come from your imagination and that kind of thing. So that's kind of how that works from our day-to-day thing. So thank you very much.